How Nicolás Maduro transformed from bus driver to world's most controversial leader. The streets, the voice, and the first step towards power. Nicolás Maduro was not born into power. He was born into noise, into crowded streets, into a city that never rested. Caracas was his classroom, not a university, not a palace, but sidewalks, buses, and long work days. He was born on November 23, 1962. His family was poor, money was always short, life was always uncertain. This kind of childhood teaches lessons early. You learn to listen, you learn to speak, you learn to survive. Maduro grew up in a working-class home. His father was involved in unions and politics. Arguments about justice filled the house. Talk of power was normal. Words like workers mattered. Words like rights mattered. Words like struggle shaped his thinking. School was not his strength. He did not stand out in exams. He did not follow an academic path. His learning came from people. He watched how people talked. He watched who was angry. He watched who felt ignored. As a young man, Maduro liked to speak. He liked to organize others. He enjoyed standing in front of groups. For a short time, he became a student leader, not because he was the smartest, but because he was confident, because he could speak with emotion. He learned something important early. People follow those who speak for them, not those who speak above them. Maduro made a choice. He did not go to university. He chose political training instead. He wanted ideas. He wanted power. He wanted to understand systems. In 1986, he traveled to Cuba. This trip changed him. Cuba was shaped by revolution. It believed the state must guide society. There, Maduro studied political thought. He learned about socialism. He learned about loyalty. He learned about control. The message was simple. The revolution must survive. Opposition must be managed. The state must be strong. When he returned to Venezuela, reality waited. He needed a job. He needed money. He had no degree. So he became a bus driver. He worked in the Caracas metro system. Long hours, heavy traffic, angry passengers. But the bus was not just work. It became his stage, his training ground, his platform. Bus drivers lived hard lives, low pay, high stress, daily danger. Maduro lived this reality. He felt it in his body. He felt it in his voice. Instead of staying quiet, he spoke. He listened to other drivers. He organized meetings. He stood up for better conditions. Slowly, people noticed him. They trusted him. They followed him. He became a union leader. This was his first real power. Small power, but real power. Here, he learned a key lesson. Power begins with people. Loyalty begins with listening. He learned how to frame problems. He learned how to name enemies. He learned how to promise change. The bus became a symbol, a worker rising from below, a voice from the streets. At the same time, Venezuela was changing. The country entered crisis. Inflation rose. Jobs disappeared. People were angry. They felt betrayed. The old political system felt broken. Then a new figure appeared, Hugo Chavez, a former army officer. In 1992, Chavez tried a coup. It failed. He was arrested. But something unexpected happened. Chavez became famous. The poor saw courage. They saw hope. Maduro watched closely. He believed in Chavez's message. He believed the system needed radical change. Maduro helped organize support. He helped spread Chavez's ideas. He became part of the movement. When Chavez was released in 1994, Maduro was ready to serve, ready to follow. Loyalty became his strategy, not debate, not challenge. Loyalty. During this time, Maduro met Celia Flores. She was a lawyer,
She defended Chavez. She believed in the revolution. They became partners in politics, in life. Together, they traveled the country. They spoke to workers. They spoke to the poor. They promised change. In 1998, Chavez won the presidency. Everything changed. The old system collapsed. For Maduro, doors opened. The bus driver entered government. The union leader entered the state. In 1999, Venezuela rewrote its constitution. Maduro helped shape it, despite limited education, despite little experience. This showed how fast power can move in times of revolution, in times of crisis. In 2000, Maduro entered the National Assembly. He became a lawmaker. He sat where decisions were made. He learned how power worked. He learned how deals happened. He learned what loyalty earned. Maduro stayed close to Chavez. He never broke rank. He never challenged authority. This loyalty was rewarded, step by step, position by position. By 2005, he became president of the National Assembly, a major role. A former bus driver now controlled debates.
In 2006, he became foreign minister. His world expanded. He spoke for Venezuela abroad. He defended the revolution. He criticized the United States. He praised socialism. His image changed from worker to statesman, but he never dropped his story. He reminded people of the streets. He reminded them of the bus. This image created trust. It created belief. It created hope.
Yet power was shaping him, slowly, quietly. He learned to control messages. He learned to defend authority. He learned to dismiss criticism. By 2012, everything shifted. Hugo Chavez became very ill. The revolution needed an heir. Chavez chose Maduro, not the strongest, but the most loyal. This choice changed history. It placed Maduro one step from the top. When Chavez died in 2013, the country mourned. Millions cried. Venezuela felt lost. Maduro stepped forward. He promised continuity. He promised protection. He promised loyalty to Chavez's legacy. The election was close, very close. Maduro won by a thin margin. Doubt entered immediately. Trust weakened. Conflict began. But officially, he was president. The journey was complete. From bus driver to head of state. From the streets to the palace. It looked like a miracle. It felt like inspiration. It seemed to prove anything was possible. But this was only the rise, not the test. Because power does not end the story. Power begins it. Part 2. Power, Crisis, and the Slow Birth of Control. When Nicolás Maduro became president in 2013, Venezuela was already weak. The country looked strong on the surface, but inside, cracks were forming. Venezuela depended on oil. Oil paid for food. Oil paid for medicine. Oil paid for social programs. For years, high oil prices hid deep problems. The government spent more than it earned. Factories closed. Farms stopped producing. The country bought what it no longer made. Imports replaced production. Dependence replaced balance. When oil prices fell, the system collapsed. Money disappeared. Stability vanished. Maduro promised continuity. He promised to follow Chavez. He promised to protect the poor. Many people wanted to believe him. They wanted order. They wanted certainty. But Maduro was not Chavez. He lacked charisma. He lacked emotional connection. His legitimacy was fragile. The election was close. The opposition questioned the result. They asked for a recount. Maduro refused. This single decision changed everything. Doubt entered the system. Trust began to break. Soon protests filled the streets. Students marched. Workers demanded food. Families asked simple questions. Why are shelves empty? Why is money worthless? The government responded with force. Police blocked streets. Security forces fired tear gas. People were arrested. Some were injured, some were killed.
Maduro spoke on television. He blamed the opposition. He blamed foreign enemies. He blamed the United States. He blamed capitalism. He never blamed policy. He never blamed himself. The economy worsened each year. Inflation rose fast. Then it exploded. Prices changed daily. Money lost meaning. Savings disappeared. People carried bags of cash. Bread became expensive. Medicine became rare. Hospitals lacked supplies. Electricity failed. Water stopped flowing. Daily life turned into survival. Parents skipped meals. Children ate first. Doctors left the country. Teachers left. Engineers left. Millions of Venezuelans fled. They crossed borders on foot. They slept in shelters. Maduro said there was no crisis. He said the media lied. He said Venezuela was strong. But streets told the truth. Empty shops. Silent factories. In 2015, something shifted. The opposition won the National Assembly. This was a shock. For the first time, Maduro faced resistance. The Assembly investigated corruption. It questioned government actions. Maduro reacted quickly. He turned to the Supreme Court. The court was loyal. It blocked Assembly decisions. It canceled laws. It removed power. The Assembly still existed, but authority was gone. In 2017, Maduro went further. He created a new political body, the Constituent Assembly. Only government supporters could join. This body replaced the elected assembly. Many countries protested. They called it illegal. Maduro ignored them. Protests returned, larger, more desperate. Security forces responded harder. Arrests increased. Fear spread. New armed groups appeared. They rode motorcycles. They carried weapons. They were called colectivos. They attacked protesters. They defended the regime. Speaking openly became dangerous. Journalists were threatened. TV stations closed. Websites were blocked. Opposition leaders were jailed. Others fled. Elections continued in name, but choice disappeared. In 2018, Maduro ran again. Opposition parties were banned. Candidates were disqualified. Turnout was low. Maduro declared victory. Many governments rejected the result. Sanctions followed. Venezuela became isolated. Trade slowed. Assets were frozen. In 2019, a new challenge appeared. Juan Guaido declared himself interim president. Many countries supported him. The United States did. Europe did. For a moment, Maduro seemed weak. Many expected his fall. But one force stayed loyal: the military. Maduro rewarded generals, money, influence. The military controlled food distribution. They controlled ports. They controlled businesses. As long as the army stayed loyal, Maduro stayed president. The country sank deeper. Oil production collapsed. Corruption spread. Maduro appeared on television. He smiled. He joked. Children fainted from hunger. Hospitals could not treat patients. The distance between words and reality grew. Trust disappeared. Maduro survived not through success, but through control. Control of courts, control of media, control of force. Venezuela was still called a democracy, but democracy no longer worked. Institutions existed, but power did not move. This was when the label changed: president, then ruler, then dictator. Not because of one act, but because of a pattern. Silencing critics, ignoring votes, ruling through fear. From bus driver to president was remarkable. From president to dictator was tragic. But the story was not over. Power was tightening, and survival became the goal. Part 3. Survival, Silence, and the True Meaning of Power. By the early 2020s, many believed Nicolás Maduro would fall.
The country was exhausted. The economy was broken. Millions had left. Sanctions isolated the government. Oil money dried up. International pressure increased. But Maduro did not fall. He adjusted. His survival depended on one rule: control. First, he secured the military. Loyal officers were promoted. Doubtful officers were removed. The armed forces changed. They were no longer neutral. They became political. Generals received businesses. They controlled ports. They controlled food imports. Power and profit merged. Loyalty was rewarded. As long as the military stood with him, Maduro remained president. Next, he controlled food. The government created a system called CLAP. Food boxes were distributed to poor families. The boxes helped people survive, but survival had conditions. Support the government, receive food. Oppose the government, risk hunger. Food became power. Hunger became fear. People learned silence. Speaking openly felt dangerous. Jobs were lost for words. Freedom cost safety. Maduro tightened control of information. Newspapers disappeared. Radio stations closed. Websites were blocked. Internet access slowed. Truth became rare. Propaganda became normal. Outside the country, Maduro stood alone. The United States imposed heavy sanctions. Europe followed. Travel became difficult. Assets were frozen. Maduro searched for new allies. Russia offered support. China offered loans. Iran offered cooperation. Turkey offered trade. These alliances did not heal Venezuela, but they protected the government.
Sanctions hurt the economy. Corruption hurt it more. Money vanished. Oil profits disappeared. Officials lived in luxury. Ordinary people lived in darkness. Electricity failed often. Water arrived for hours only. Hospitals lacked medicine. Schools lost teachers. Slowly, Maduro changed tactics. He relaxed economic controls. He allowed small private businesses. Dollar payments became common. Markets returned in parts. The economy stabilized slightly, but inequality grew. Two Venezuelas formed, one bright, one dark. In wealthy areas, shelves were full, lights stayed on. In poor areas, hunger remained, blackouts continued. Families stayed divided, parents abroad, children at home. The country lost talent, doctors, engineers, students. Maduro spoke of victory. He said sanctions failed. He said sovereignty was defended. Supporters believed him. They saw resistance to foreign pressure. Critics saw destruction. They saw fear. They saw silence. Both sides argued loudly, but one truth stayed clear. Venezuela was changed forever. Maduro did not rise through education. He did not rise through reform. He rose through loyalty, through crisis, through opportunity. From bus driver to leader was possible. From leader to dictator was a choice. Power revealed character. Absolute power left scars. This story is not only about one man. It is about institutions that failed. Courts lost independence. Parliament lost authority. Silence replaced debate. Fear replaced trust. A country is more than one leader, but one leader can break a country. Venezuela's past is written in hunger, in exile, in lost years. Its future remains uncertain. The streets that formed Maduro now reflect his rule. People walk quietly. Shops open and close without warning. Hope is careful. Some still believe in change. They whisper about democracy. They remember a time before fear. Others are tired. They focus on survival. Politics feels distant. Freedom feels abstract. Maduro remains in the palace, protected by soldiers, surrounded by loyalists, speaking of victory.
Outside, the nation waits. This is the legacy still unfolding, not a story of success, but a warning about unchecked power, a warning about loyalty without limits, a warning about institutions that fail. The journey from bus driver to president inspired many. The journey from president to dictator broke a nation. History will remember both, and the lesson will remain. Power can lift anyone, but only character decides where power leads.
If this video inspired you or helped you learn something new, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Motivation to Study English for 30 minutes every day. Your support is the energy that keeps us creating better and more meaningful videos every single day.